Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hadirin sekalian, kegiatan pada pagi hari ini sebentar lagi akan dimulai. Mohon bantuan seluruh hadirin agar mikrofonnya dapat di-mute terlebih dahulu untuk menghilangkan suara-suara yang mungkin masuk dalam sistem dan mengganggu agar kegiatan kita berjalan dengan kondusif. Selanjutnya, mohon bantuannya juga untuk menyesuaikan tampilan nama pada Zoom masing-masing dengan format instansi diikuti nama peserta. Hadirin juga dapat mengajukan pertanyaan kepada narasumber melalui kolom chat. Dan harap menggunakan fitur raise hand bagi yang akan bertanya pada sesi tanya-jawab setelah ada instruksi dari moderator. Kami juga mengimbau untuk menjaga ketertiban selama pelaksanaan kegiatan. Selamat bergabung, selamat mengikuti webinar pada hari ini. Acara akan kami mulai sebentar lagi. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Business Transformation in Digital Era Strategy and Action webinar. Today, June 24, 2020. Today, we have three distinguished speakers. First, Abhishek Bhatia, Group Chief Officer, New Business Models FWD. Second, Rick Harshman, Managing Director of Asia Pacific and Japan Google Cloud. Third, Yanjun Samlin, Chief Executive of International Business and Group CFO, 9F Group. Before we begin, I will hand over to Amos Garcia from the Milken Institute for a brief introduction. Mr. Garcia, please, the time is yours.
Thank you, Dea. Thank you for the warm introduction. I first want to thank Pak Batunanggar, Pak Widyo at the OJK and OJK Institute for inviting the Milken Institute to partner on this webinar. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Milken Institute, we are a nonprofit, nonpartisan economic and finance think tank headquartered in Santa Monica, California. I'm based here in Singapore at our Singapore office. The mission of the Milken Institute is to help people build meaningful lives in which they can experience good health, well-being, pursue effective education and gainful employment, and access the resources to create ever-expanding opportunities for themselves and their larger communities. At the heart of our work is the idea that societies prosper if they have an educated and healthy workforce, open and efficient capital markets, and effective social institutions. As such, our activities fall into two main pillars, health and finance. Under the health pillar, we focus on accelerating the development of medicines by working to reduce the barriers in the medical research continuum to ensure medicines get to patients faster. Similarly, we work to address chronic disease, mental health, food and nutrition by raising awareness, influencing policy, and catalyzing scalable solutions. Finally, we work with foundations and philanthropists to help them make more informed decisions in their giving strategies related to their health and medical efforts. Continuing under the health pillar, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Milken Institute is tracking 169 vaccines in development, 11 of which are now in the clinical testing phase. We are further working to inform government officials and the public on the development and progress of these vaccines. All of this information can be found on our website at www.milkeninstitute.org. Under the finance pillar, we focus on improving financial inclusion and transparency and building stronger financial environments so financial services and capital are more affordable and accessible to a greater number of people. We do this by supporting governments to build stronger capital markets and promote private sector-led growth. We provide training to policymakers in financial policy, strategic asset management, and capital market development. Finally, we convene leaders from all industries, finance, government, and technology, like today's webinar, to discuss the transformational changes happening in their industries and to promote collaborative efforts that leverage new technologies and new solutions. The Milken Institute Asia Center is committed to continuing this work in Asia, and we are open to more programming and partnerships with each of you to advance these goals. Please feel free to connect with us at asia@milkeninstitute.org. Thank you again for this opportunity, and back to you, Dea.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia, for the explanation. Firstly, Vice Chairman of Otoritas Jasa Keuangan, Ibu Nurhaida, would like to deliver her opening remarks. Ibu Nurhaida, please, the time is yours.
Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, let me convey my thank you and my gratitude to our distinguished speakers today, Mr. Abhishek Bhatia, Mr. Yan Jun Lin, Mr. Rick Harsman, and also, of course, thank you to Mr. Garcia from Milken Institute. Allow me to deliver my remarks in Bahasa, since I believe that most of our participants are Indonesian, so I can can give more in-depth understanding with what we have today and what we have in our programs. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera buat kita semua. Pertama-tama, marilah kita panjatkan puji dan syukur kehadirat Tuhan Yang Maha Kuasa, karena berkat rahmat dan karunia-Nya kita bisa berkumpul pada pagi hari ini walaupun secara virtual. Dalam meningkatkan kompetensi dan wawasan terkait dengan transformasi strategi bisnis di era digital, OJK dalam hal ini OJK Institute bekerja sama dengan Milken Institute menyelenggarakan webinar ini yang dengan topik Business Transformation in Digital Era, Strategy and Actions. Kenapa ini penting kita lakukan? Bapak Ibu sekalian yang hadir pada webinar ini, Revolusi Industri 4.0 menggambarkan perubahan yang mendasar dalam cara kita hidup, cara kita berkomunikasi, dan berhubungan satu sama lain. Di Revolusi Industri 4.0 ini merupakan fenomena yang mengkolaborasikan teknologi cyber dan teknologi otomatisasi, di mana sebetulnya konsep penerapan berpusat pada konsep otomatisasi yang dilakukan dengan teknologi tanpa terlalu banyak memerlukan tenaga kerja manusia dan dalam proses pengaplikasiannya. Kita tahu perkembangan disrupsi teknologi, baik artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, collaborative ecosystem, dan juga cryptocurrency, demografi, serta juga customer experience mempengaruhi masa depan industri jasa keuangan, yaitu industri yang memang diawasi oleh otoritas jasa keuangan. Dan munculnya teknologi digital telah mempercepat laju disrupsi di hampir setiap industri dan telah menciptakan juga ambiguitas yang luar biasa. Namun saat ini disrupsi ini kita tahu juga ditambah dipercepat ataupun tambah ada dampaknya disebabkan oleh adanya pandemi COVID-19 yang dialami oleh seluruh negara di dunia. Pandemi ini tentu sangat mempengaruhi bagaimana orang-orang berhubungan. Kita tahu bahwa di Indonesia ada kebijakan PSBB, ada physical distancing yang harus kita jalankan, dan tentu ini akan merubah cara kita berkomunikasi yang tadi sangat penting ada dilakukan misalnya secara tatap muka, kemudian ini berubah menjadi komunikasi melalui jarak jauh dengan secara digital. Pandemi ini juga telah memberikan tekanan kepada banyak bisnis. Kita tahu di Indonesia bisnis ini banyak dilakukan oleh usaha kecil dan menengah, bahkan usaha mikro, dan ini juga terdampak cukup signifikan. Oleh karena itu, kita perlu memberikan semacam perhatian yang khusus untuk memastikan bahwa dampak pandemi COVID ini bisa diatasi dan tentu juga harus merupakan usaha bersama dengan pemahaman kita bersama. Bapak Ibu sekalian, itulah tujuan kita melakukan webinar hari ini untuk meningkatkan wawasan kepada para pelaku industri jasa keuangan, bagaimana menyikapi perkembangan disrupsi yang terjadi, dan bagaimana pengaruhnya di masa depan industri jasa keuangan, serta bagaimana kita memberikan pemahaman tentang strategi dan inovasi model bisnis agar pelaku industri jasa keuangan tetap bertahan dan bisa bertumbuh. Webinar ini juga akan membahas mengenai tantangan dalam melakukan transformasi bisnis di era digital dan new normal, strategi dalam menghadapi hambatan dalam transformasi bisnis, dan bagaimana memimpin transformasi bisnis. Di OJK sendiri untuk mencegah dampak yang lebih luas dari pandemi, COVID-19 ini, tahun 2020 ini saja telah ada beberapa kebijakan yang diambil oleh OJK. Ada beberapa inisiatif yang diarahkan untuk mendukung pembiayaan sektor-sektor prioritas pemerintah dalam mendorong pertumbuhan ekonomi, untuk juga memberdayakan UMKM dan juga masyarakat kecil, untuk mendorong inovasi teknologi informasi, industri jasa keuangan, serta reformasi internal dalam pengaturan dan pengawasan sektor jasa keuangan. Jadi di OJK sendiri secara internal pun kita sudah bertransformasi karena banyak pekerjaan yang harus kita lakukan melalui digital, work from home, karena kita ingin bahwa dalam masa pandemi COVID ini kita tidak terhalang atau layanan OJK kepada stakeholders tetap harus dilaksanakan. Di samping itu OJK tentu harus juga memikirkan bagaimana peran OJK di dalam melakukan stimulus ataupun kemudahan-kemudahan agar kemudian sektor jasa keuangan tetap bisa berjalan dengan baik. Beberapa peraturan yang telah dikeluarkan OJK terkait dengan pemberian stimulus ataupun pemberian kemudahan kepada sektor jasa keuangan, antara lain, dan ini juga sebetulnya sudah dimulai tidak hanya dari pandemi COVID, tetapi telah dimulai dengan adanya digitalisasi di sektor jasa keuangan. Jadi di tahun 2016, OJK sudah mengeluarkan peraturan atau POJK 77 tentang layanan pinjam-meminjam uang berbasis teknologi informasi. Kemudian OJK juga di tahun 2018 ada beberapa peraturan yang dikeluarkan OJK dalam rangka melayani digital transformation, yaitu ada POJK nomor 12 tahun 2018 tentang penyelenggaraan layanan perbankan digital oleh Bank Umum. Kemudian juga ada peraturan POJK 13 tentang inovasi keuangan digital di sektor keuangan. Dan yang terakhir di tahun 2018 ada POJK 37, itu tentang equity crowdfunding. Nah, jadi sebetulnya OJK sudah memulai transformasi di bidang teknologi, di dalam pelayanan, maupun di dalam kebijakan-kebijakan OJK melalui beberapa peraturan-peraturan yang sudah dikeluarkan. Nah, sejalan dengan berkembangnya upaya untuk mencegah penyebaran lebih jauh dari pandemi COVID ini, di semester 1 tahun 2020, OJK juga mengeluarkan beberapa kebijakan berupa stimulus untuk perekonomian yang merupakan tindak lanjut kewenangan OJK yang diberikan di dalam Perpu 1 tahun 2020. Nah, Perpu 1 tahun 2020 ini adalah tentang keuangan negara dan stabilitas sistem keuangan untuk penanganan pandemi coronavirus disease 2019 atau COVID-19 dan atau dalam rangka menghadapi ancaman sistem keuangan yang membahayakan perekonomian nasional, yaitu ada beberapa peraturan turunan dari Perpu 1 2020 ini yang diamanatkan kepada OJK untuk membuat atau membentuk peraturannya dalam bentuk POJK atau peraturan OJK. Nah, OJK sudah mengeluarkan POJK 11, POJK 14, POJK 15, POJK 16, 17 dan 18. Pada dasarnya ini adalah terkait dengan kemudahan-kemudahan di sektor jasa keuangan. POJK 18 itu sendiri adalah terkait dengan kewenangan OJK untuk memberikan perintah tertulis di sektor perbankan. Ya, jadi untuk melakukan merger dan akuisisi. Itu ada beberapa ketentuan. Kemudian juga ada peraturan terkait dengan memperbolehkan electronic rules bagi emiten. Ini terkait di bidang pasar modal. Kemudian juga ada beberapa ketentuan lain. Nah, intinya adalah bagaimana kemudian dengan adanya transformasi digital, dengan adanya COVID-19, OJK tetap bisa memberikan pelayanan yang baik, kegiatan di sektor jasa keuangan tidak terhambat, dan kemudian semua upaya-upaya ini kita lakukan agar dampak dari COVID-19 yang cukup nyata di seluruh dunia, di seluruh negara, yang berdampak cukup nyata kepada pertumbuhan ekonomi, itu kita coba cegah jangan sampai masuk kepada kondisi yang sangat berat. Jadi ini yang diupayakan bersama-sama, baik oleh OJK, oleh Kementerian Keuangan, dan oleh LPS, dan juga dengan Bank Indonesia. Bapak Ibu yang saya hormati, faktor-faktor penting yang harus kita siapkan di dalam transformasi bisnis ini tentu adalah terkait dengan sumber daya manusia. Yang pertama adalah SDM. Ya, ini dinilai sangat penting dalam melaksanakan proses transformasi digital bisnis ini. Perkembangan teknologi memang mendisrupsi beberapa jenis pekerjaan, namun juga sebetulnya melahirkan opportunity baru. Hanya mungkin tadinya yang dikerjakan oleh manusia bisa dikerjakan secara teknologi, disupport oleh teknologi. Kemudian itu tentunya sesuatu yang barangkali sifatnya lebih rutin, lebih masif. Tetapi kemudian disrupsi teknologi ini juga menimbulkan kesempatan baru, kebutuhan baru, background atau expertise baru bagi manusia yang mungkin tidak bisa dilakukan oleh sistem, oleh mesin. Nah, oleh karena itu sebetulnya yang terjadi kalau menurut hemat saya adalah bagaimana kemudian kita harus menyiapkan sumber daya manusia kita ke arah kebutuhan baru di dalam perkembangan teknologi informasi ini. Yaitu misalnya adanya skill yang diperlukan terhadap analisis dan lain-lain, yang ada skill-skill ini yang tidak mungkin dilakukan oleh mesin atau secara sistem. Oleh karena itu tentu hal ini harus menjadi perhatian utama bagi kita. Misalnya soft skill yang perlu kita siapkan kepada sumber daya manusia kita, misalnya terhadap bagaimana menghadapi VUCA, ya, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, dan ambiguity. Tentu ini mungkin secara sistem tidak bisa terlalu mendetail, tetapi manusia itu diperlukan untuk melakukan analisis terhadap hal ini. Kemudian yang kedua, yang perlu juga kita lakukan atau fokus di dalam transformasi bisnis ini, bagaimana kita fokus kepada konsumen. Ya, meskipun interaksi manusia itu tetap dirasakan penting, lembaga jasa keuangan, Bapak Ibu sekalian, perlu meningkatkan ikatan emosional atau emotional engagement dengan konsumen untuk memberikan layanan digital yang dapat memenuhi kebutuhan konsumen sesuai dengan selera konsumen. Sebagaimana salah satu kesimpulan yang diperoleh dari Deloitte Global Consumer Survey on Digital Banking, tahun 2018 mengatakan bahwa merging the physical environment with the virtual or digital is key to superior customer experience, putting the real in digital and digital is the real. Penggunaan teknologi baru dalam transformasi bisnis perlu juga menjadi perhatian, di mana pengelolaan data dan juga layanan lain yang dapat meningkatkan produktivitas, serta meningkatkan daya saing, serta mempertimbangkan keamanan data tentu perlu menjadi perhatian. Sebagaimana disampaikan juga oleh CEO dari Executive Chairman dari Cisco yang mengatakan sekitar 40% dari bisnis itu akan berakhir atau dalam 10 tahun apabila mereka tidak bisa menyesuaikan kegiatan atau filosofi dari company mereka, perusahaan mereka untuk mengakomodir new technology. Jadi dia katakan bahwa at least 40% of all businesses will die in the next 10 years if they don't figure out how to change their entire company to accommodate new technology. Oke, jadi ini memang hal yang harus menjadi perhatian kita. Jadi dapat kita sampaikan bahwa kesuksesan dalam transformasi bisnis tentu tidak luput dari peran pemimpin. Ya, kita tahu bahwa pemimpin sangat dibutuhkan dalam transformasi bisnis ini, dalam artian bahwa pemimpinnya harus mampu merangkul perubahan, harus mau mengambil risiko, dan mendisrupsi even diri mereka sendiri. Dalam artian mereka pun pemimpinnya harus mau berubah, harus punya view ke depan, mempunyai transformative vision, mempunyai forward looking, dan juga understanding teknologi. Mereka juga harus punya keinginan untuk change oriented, strong, dan tentunya harus strong leadership. Jadi ini hal-hal yang perlu menjadi perhatian kita, baik di sektor jasa keuangan, bagi Bapak Ibu di lembaga jasa keuangan, maupun bagi kami di OJK, dan bagi seluruh kegiatan di apapun bentuknya, di dunia pendidikan, di dunia bisnis, di dunia pendidikan, bisnis, kesehatan, semua perlu melakukan transformasi. Oleh karena itu, kita sangat beruntung hari ini ada ahli-ahlinya yang bisa memberikan pandangan dan wawasan kepada kita yang hadir mengikuti webinar ini untuk bisa mendapatkan pemahaman dan juga pandangan-pandangan yang baru tentang bagaimana transformasi bisnis di era digital seperti saat ini. Sebagai penutup, saya atas nama OJK ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Milken Institute, Mr. Amos tadi atas kerjasama dalam penyelenggaraan webinar ini. Tentu juga rasa terima kasih disampaikan oleh seluruh anggota Dewan Komisioner yang kebetulan pada hari ini tidak bisa bergabung karena memang setiap hari Rabu kita ada rapat Dewan Komisioner. Selanjutnya saya juga ingin tentunya mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Miss Bhavana Fatvani, adalah Managing Director Financial Service Sector Accenture Indonesia. Kemudian juga our distinguished speaker, Mr. Abhishek Bhatia, CEO Singapore and Group Chief Officer New Business Models, dan juga Mr. Rick Harsman, Google Cloud Managing Director for Asia Pacific, serta tentu tidak lupa Mr. Yan Jun Sam Lin, Chief Executive of International Business for 9F Group, serta tentu rekan kami dari OJK, Saudara Sukarela Batunanggar, Deputi Komisioner OJK Institute, dan Inovasi Keuangan Digital. Tentu kami sangat berterima kasih kepada seluruh pembicara dan juga kepada seluruh peserta yang hadir pada pagi hari ini, dengan harapan bahwa apa yang kita lakukan pada pagi hari ini bisa membantu kita untuk mempercepat transformasi dan bisa mengurangi dampak dari pandemi COVID-19 ini kepada perekonomian kita. Kami berharap tentunya juga seminar ini akan bermanfaat untuk semua, tidak hanya kepada OJK, tetapi juga utama kepada seluruh stakeholders OJK, terutama yang hadir pada webinar ini. Demikian yang ingin saya sampaikan, lebih kurangnya mohon maaf. Semoga seminar ini berjalan dengan baik dan semoga kita selalu mendapat ridha dari Allah Subhanahu wa taala, dan salam sehat buat semua. Mudah-mudahan apa yang kita lakukan bermanfaat. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ibu Nurhaida, for the remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to remind you that you can submit any question to all the panelists through Q&A feature. Let me explain in bahasa. Bapak dan Ibu dapat kami informasikan untuk yang ingin mengajukan pertanyaan kepada semua panelis dapat diakses melalui fitur Q&A. Now proceed to our main session. We would like to introduce our moderator for today's event. She is a Managing Director, Financial Service Sector of Accenture Indonesia. Please welcome Bhavana Patvani. Good morning, Ms. Patvani.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us today.
Assalamualaikum, selamat pagi semua orang. My name is Bhavna and I'm the market lead for Accenture Indonesia. I've been leading the financial services sector for Accenture Indonesia for the last 3 years and working very closely with banks, financial institutions in their data and their digital transformation journeys. So today's webinar is extremely aligned to the conversations that we are having with many C-suites regarding this topic. Firstly, I would like to thank the Milken Institute and Financial Services Authority of Indonesia, OJK, for organizing a session that is so relevant today: business transformation in the digital era, strategies and action. Let me start by giving an overview of today's topic. By giving an overview of today's topic. The financial services industry is in the midst of a digital revolution, and these changes are being caused by many factors. Number one, we are seeing new entrants such as fintechs that have permanently altered the financial services landscape with new business models. Number two, we're seeing disruptive technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, cloud, quantum computing, analytics, all of that in the market, much of which actually lacks definitive market standards. Number three, we're seeing changing customer demands and expectations, especially with the rise of mobile penetration. And lastly, we're seeing the increased sophistication of security threats, volatility of the global economy, which results in increased regulations and compliance. All of this have given rise to a significant amount of disruption in the financial services industry. And the disruption has further been accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we are all here to talk about and to understand a little bit about the strategies and the business models that have enabled organizations to thrive in this digital age. In driving today's panel, I've actually leveraged some of the research that we have done in Accenture, specifically around a few topics: platform banking, the next generation central bank, the brave new world of open banking, and COVID-19, the now and the next for banks. And I've actually used some of this research to build on the themes that we are going to be discussing today. Without any further ado, let me start by introducing the panel and give each of them 5 minutes to share their thoughts in discussing digital transformation in their respective industries. Let's start with Abhishek Bhatia, the Group Chief Officer of New Business Models, FWD. Just for everyone's benefit, FWD is an online insurance company. They provide a wide range of insurance solutions from life to general, such as car, travel, life, personal accident, etc. Today, Abhishek will be covering a very interesting topic on enablers, opportunities, and challenges in creating a digital insurer. Over to you, Abhishek.
Thanks, Bhavna. And again, let me begin by thanking the OJK and Milken for one, organizing it, and number two, inviting me to participate in this panel discussion. Absolutely my privilege. Just very, very happy to be here. I think, Bhavna, as you sort of alluded to, I'll sort of take a step back and talk about the macro picture, right? So even before COVID hit, I think globally, 75% of insurance journeys were starting online. They wouldn't finish online, but the exploration for a new insurance product would start online, right? And these are numbers from EY, PwC, KPMG, et cetera, et cetera. Now in Southeast Asia, that number was lower, but I think Rick from Google can attest to it that the search volumes for insurance on Google have been growing by leaps and bounds. I think they're compounding at least 30–40% across the Southeast Asian markets, right? So while, I mean, if you think about 10–15 years back, in case you wanted to buy an insurance product, chances are you would call an agent. And God forbid, in case you needed to compare two insurance products, you would have to get brochures from two different agents, from two different companies, and then try to make head or tail of that yourself. Today, all of that is actually much easier with the aggregator websites, comparison websites, et cetera, et cetera. So as I said, I think a lot of the customer journeys, a significant majority, are starting online, but they're not finishing online because once people figure out what they need to buy, they're still predominantly going to the offline channels or the existing channels. And when we studied this, we looked at some of the markets that are more advanced in terms of online sales. So let's say in the UK today, 70 or 80% of car insurance sales are actually bought online. China, close to 20% of the non-life GWP is actually being transacted online. And we sort of boiled it down to 4 factors that need to be present for online insurance to really take off. So just before I dive into that, again, I think the other dimension to this would be, as you can imagine, consumer behavior is changing very, very rapidly. And that shift towards online is real and it's accelerating. It's just that which category goes first, right? So all of us as consumers, I think, especially during COVID-19, have been happy ordering groceries online. I think we do a lot of our clothes and shoes shopping online. So that possibly is the first category that where the consumer behavior changes very rapidly, followed by possibly banking transactions, right? So you're paying your bills online rather than actually standing in queue or cutting out checks. And thirdly comes, let's say, I would say insurance, and within insurance would be GI, so the general insurance first, followed by life insurance. So if you think about it as a curve, right, various industries or sectors are at different points in that curve of online maturity. So coming back to the point I was making earlier, which is the 4 what used to be derailing factors for online insurance earlier, but now have become huge enablers for the entire, I would say, the ASEAN region, right? So the first thing is smartphone penetration. Today, as you all know, I think the smartphone is possibly the first and only computer that a lot of the customers in Asia and actually large parts of Africa land up happening. So the days of getting a laptop first and then getting a mobile phone or a tablet is gone. Actually, people are straight away leapfrogging that phase and jumping into getting onto a smartphone. Now, smartphone penetration in Singapore is north of 90%. And in markets like Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, till 3 or 4 years back, frankly, it was around 20% or lesser. I mean, Thailand was slightly higher, Malaysia was slightly higher, but most of these markets, India was actually low teens. But 3 years later, all of these markets, the smartphone penetration will be north of 50%, close to 70%. And that's also enabled by a lot of the cheaper smartphone options available rather than just iPhone and Samsung, right? So suddenly mobile commerce becomes a huge enabler or an opportunity rather than being an impediment or a challenge, right? So just to give you a number, 60% of sales for FWD online in Singapore actually come from mobile phones. Only 40% come from desktops. And if we analyze the traffic, where the traffic is coming from rather than sales, close to 80% of the traffic is from mobile phones, right? So smartphone penetration becomes the first enabler. The second one would be 4G, right? Because you don't have access to Wi-Fi everywhere. And if you want the ability to be able to transact anytime, anywhere, you need to have the bandwidth speeds. And 4G networks, which did not exist or were patchy till 3-4 years back, are being rolled out at the rate of knots in all these markets. So data and bandwidth speed, suddenly from being a constraint, becomes an enabler now in all these markets, including Indonesia. The third thing, which is hugely important for online insurance. So let's say for online e-commerce or e-commerce per se, Tokopedia, Traveloka, etc. You could transact and buy stuff, buy goods online and pay cash on delivery, COD, right? But for financial services, COD, doesn't quite work. You need to be able to pay the premium online and then get a policy subsequently. So for underbanked or unbanked societies, which is large parts of Asia, this became a challenge for financial services. The absence of credit cards or the absence of an easy way to do bank transfers directly and immediately. But I think that's being solved again because of the launch of so many digital wallets, whether it's Grab or Gojek, or actually now WhatsApp and Facebook enabling payments peer-to-peer and peer-to institutions. That third thing, which was a derailer, becomes a huge enabler and an opportunity. And the fourth thing I would say is, again, till 5-10 years back, these companies did not exist, right? So Tokopedia or Kredivo in Indonesia or Traveloka. And suddenly there is this huge emergence of ecosystem players. So from an insurance company's perspective, there is suddenly a preponderance of distribution partners that did not exist 5 or 10 years back, and now they're available. Millions of users are registered on these platforms and are willing to transact not just the core proposition of that platform, but also the ancillary products that are put on. So the four things that I would say, which used to be problems, have suddenly become enablers. And this should be able to drive the growth of online insurance in the future, which is not to say that all the other, let's call it traditional channels or intermediated channels will disappear. I think each of these will have a space based on customer need and how complex a product is and the need for advice. But they will coexist. But what will happen is that the online channel will grow much faster in the years to come than the other channels. So that's hopefully my 4.5 minutes, Bhavna. And again, there's lots of nuance, lots of intricacies and additional points that we can get to after my fellow panelists have made their opening remarks.
Thank you. That was very interesting, Abhishek. Let's move on to Rick Harshman, Managing Director for Asia Pacific and Japan, Google Cloud. Firstly, Rick, congratulations on the launch of your Google Cloud region in Indonesia. Today, I believe you'll be talking about leading business transformation strategies. Over to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, as Abhishek just said, thank you to Ojeka and to the Milken Institute for having us today. Very honored. I've had the privilege of living in Southeast Asia for the last 17 years, so it's great to see, as Abhishek just said, all of the transformation that's been taking place across the region, really accelerating over the last number of years. So I am going to talk about a few things, really focused on business transformation. I think it's helpful if I begin by sharing what we see as digital transformation, what that means for us, and more importantly, for our customers. And really, it's based in two key areas. One is around data. Data is really the most important digital currency of today for any organization. But data is only as powerful as if you have the ability to unlock that data and be able to process and get access to that data in a quick, efficient time. Too often, traditional businesses, especially in financial services and insurance, it can take days to be able to process data. And that time, whether it's trying to approve a loan, whether that is trying to validate a new customer, that creates anxiety from a customer base. And customers today, because they have so many options, become very impatient, and that leads to a lack of loyalty. So being able to access your data is a really key component for any organization as they go on their digital transformation journey. The other component that's critical that I'll talk about today for financial services organizations is security, because you've got to be able to really think holistically about your security, not only within your systems, but how you're going to be able to service your customers and make sure that their data is secure and stored in a close location in the country. So I thought I would start with that. But I think it's also important to note that there's really three key ingredients that go into a digital transformation that I'll talk about. With that said, I think FSIs, it's important to highlight that they're facing an increasing amount of complex challenges. And really, it's around some key areas around customer demand. As I just mentioned, customers are expecting a seamless, tailored experience. And loyalty is increasingly difficult to maintain as options grow, especially if you think about the payment platforms that have come out, you think about the fintech companies that have come out just in a matter of the last few years. So traditional organizations have to be more adaptable and agile, and because customers are demanding this seamless experience. The second part, as I just said, is around competition. Cloud native fintech companies are disrupting nearly every segment of the value chain. And non-traditional competitors are on the rise in every market, but especially in Indonesia. And then you have risk management that you have to think about. So exposure to operational and financial risks and making sure that you can meet compliance demands are ever present and are getting more complex and costly. So you have to be thinking holistically as a financial institution, not only how do I become more innovative and more agile, but how do I do that while maintaining operational excellence and making sure that you can meet compliance demands that are constantly evolving. And then the final thing that really is holding back a lot of organizations, especially traditional financial service companies, is legacy IT. If you're born in the cloud, you don't have that legacy. You don't have servers, you don't have a data center that you have to move out of. But if you are in a traditional company, you've got legacy that you have to amortize. That most likely prevents agility. You don't have the ability to refresh your cycles as quickly. You have mountains of customer interactions and data, but that's sitting in silos. So how do you break down those silos, and how do you have a more consistent data lake to be able to process the data? But it's not just to be able to process the data to be able to make intelligent decisions, but then creating intelligence out of that data, leveraging artificial intelligence and ML. And so those are just some of the challenges that FSI companies are facing. Now, if you enter the pandemic over the situation we're in right now, it's been an extremely trying time for businesses across all industries, but especially financial services. So in times like these, and I think it's even pre-COVID and it will definitely be post-COVID, you've got to think about three critical ingredients for transformation. And that's around leadership, technology, and talent. So around leadership, for a large organization like a traditional bank to transform, they must have a commitment at the board and management level. It doesn't matter how much a developer or mid-level management may want to affect change on behalf of their customers if they don't have buy-in at the C-suite or at the boardroom level. So leadership has to really lead the transformation for these organizations. And from my conversations with senior leaders at some of the largest banking institutions across Asia Pacific, having an internal champion and a very clear digital transformation plan is key to drive this change. The second component around technology, transformation requires a step curve in change, and technology is a clear enabler for that. And I want to highlight three areas where the technology really becomes an enabler. One is around data, as I mentioned, and you're going to hear that a lot on at least how I articulate that. Again, data is the most important currency for any company today. But what you do with that data is how you can create a competitive advantage. If it continues to sit in silos and you're not able to process data and be able to be more agile with that data, then it's quite frankly worthless. So you've got to figure out ways to unlock the value of your data. Now, once you've done that and you're able to take down the processing time from days to hours to minutes and hopefully in near real time, then you can start applying that AI and ML. So then you can start creating intelligence out of your data. So that's the second component, really taking advantage of all of the advancements that have happened with companies like Google and other organizations around AI and ML. And the third is around openness. So locked in and closed systems aren't good for anyone, and they're absolutely not good for consumers. So openness and collaboration supports innovation across the industry. And that's one reason why you see the fintech companies and the payments companies really getting a leg up on traditional financial organizations, because they work in a more open, innovative, and collaborative environment. And then the third area that is really a key component of digital transformation is around talent. So all companies need skilled talent, and it is really a war for talent. You know, if you think about the companies that Abhishek talked about, Gojek, Traveloka, Tokopedia, they didn't exist 10 years ago, but they now are not only unicorns, but they're highly innovative. And this is a huge attractor for talent in the market. But the thing that Indonesia has an advantage of is Indonesia has become a digital powerhouse, and they're some of the best developers in Asia, let alone Southeast Asia. So what I encourage organizations to do when I talk to the C-suite in traditional organizations is to be more bold in the way that you're recruiting, to make it known on what your digital transformation plans are and the technologies that you're going to leverage. Because from the outside world, it seems like it's not going to be very exciting to come work for a traditional organization. But that's actually not true. Many of the most traditional organizations, whether it's HSBC or ANZ Bank or Macquarie Bank in Australia, they're some of the most innovative financial organizations in the world, and they're leveraging cloud-based technologies. The more that developers and technologists understand that, the more that they will want to come and work at these traditional companies. So it's really important at these times to not only retool and rebuild, but to train and retrain your workforce. So I always encourage organizations to do that, and we hope at Google Cloud we can play a small part in doing that. But we always, encourage companies to invest in training their teams. And for our part, we are firm believers in the need to contribute to communities. And as I was mentioning a little bit earlier to the vice chairwoman, is that at Google Cloud, we've committed to providing more than 150,000 online training labs in Indonesia in 2020 alone. And just today, we are launching our Jakarta Cloud region in Indonesia. So as I speak, we've actually started the Cloud region launch event that's taking place. So that's been an actual barrier to innovation and cloud adoption in Indonesia, because there hasn't been a local cloud region in Indonesia for Indonesians. So, and that's especially true for banks and state-owned enterprises. So before I turn back over to the panel, let me just give you a quick example of what we've seen in Indonesia. So take, for example, Bank BRI, and there are many other examples that I could talk about, but Bank BRI, they're a government-owned bank. They have the largest network of any bank in Southeast Asia, and they're transforming into a digital bank to accelerate financial inclusion by facilitating microfinance lending across its network of over 10,000 branches and thousands of branchless agents. So I spoke about data, AI, ML, and openness earlier. So let me talk to you about how Bank BRI is using those three areas. They're using data analytics and Google Maps to score all 75 million of its customers and identify which of them should be recruited as branchless agents for underbanked areas across Indonesia. Previously, banking verification was done in person. We are now seeing them use cloud AI to scan customer ID, check against the government's ID database, verify the customer, and disperse the loan all in 2 minutes instead of 2 weeks. So again, as I talked about before, innovation is powered by data and then AI. And so taking a process that used to take 2 weeks down to 2 minutes allows for much higher customer satisfaction, and it provides benefit to the bank. And because they're building on open banking API platforms, they can develop new financial service tools. Companies that didn't have the talent or resources to do credit scoring and fraud detection themselves, for example, can leverage Bank BRI's API technology. So I think that that's a great example of how business transformation, including financial inclusion, is possible when leadership, technology, and talent all come together. So with that, I will turn it back over.
Thank you very much, Rick. Very exciting journeys for some of the clients in Indonesia. Let's move on quickly to Yanjun San Lin, who is the Chief Executive Officer of 9F International and 9F Prime Asia Securities. 9F is a Beijing and Hong Kong-based fintech and digital financial account platform It provides loan products, online wealth management products, payment facilitation, all integrated under a single digital financial account. They were founded in 2006, and now they are a major online consumer lending service in China. They're listed on the Nasdaq with over 76 million users on its platform. I'm going to hand over to Sam to talk about overcoming the barriers to digital business transformation and how collaboration between fintech and other financial institutions can help. Over to you, Sam.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, very clearly.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. I think that's Vala just had a quick introduction about ourselves. We actually do have operation in Indonesia as well, and we also one of the investors in Inventory, which is one of the largest P2P platform in Indonesia. So during the company's history, it's evolving with technology, and also I think it's more important. We work with a lot of financial institutions. We work with more than 100 banks in China. We work with banks in Southeast Asia. We work with banks in Macau, Hong Kong as well. I think the key is that, especially on this COVID-19, I think it speed up the digitalization of all the traditional financial institutions, and also because they want to speed up, they want to get a customer online as quickly as possible, and they want to run a business, online. So they actually speed up them to work more with that fintech companies like us. Let's look at what the fintech company have and also the financial institution have. So the fintech company, we have the first is apparently the technology. Second, I think, is experience, how we acquire customer online. In China, we spend billions of RMB on acquiring customer online. We actually now have more than 100 million registered users in China. So there's a lot of experience to learn, because we learn from how to spend money wisely online, which channel is more efficient, how to do this online, offline, cooperation, etc. So we have this technology and also experience, and also study. I think more important is people. Right? It's very difficult to build technology people with experience, with all these technical skills. And then the financial institutions, what do they have? They have cheap capital. Apparently, they have a license. They have bank license. They can acquire capital in relatively easier. And also they have their own customer base, both acquire offline and now also move to online as well. So the model we have been cooperate with traditional financial institution is in different area. I think one is apparently with the traditional bank is on risk control. How do you control risk from online? When you acquire customer online, when you lend a loan to someone from online, you don't know them, you don't meet them. How do you tell to the risk? So that's why we work with some bank, in Southeast Asia. We work with CIMB in Thailand to help them to how to digitalization, the risk control, and something else. The other thing I think is the customer acquisition. So how do we acquire customer online more efficiently? Because it can be very different. If you look at the history and you look at the cost in China, I think I remember like many years, like 4 or 5 years ago, when we acquired a customer, maybe one registered customer is only cost you 1 RMB, and now it's probably 20 times more. And we also see these trends going in Southeast Asia as well, especially in Indonesia. The customer acquisition cost has been increasing. So how do we spend money more wisely is very important, because otherwise you may spend a lot of money and with low efficiency, and then the customer may not what you want. And the other thing I think is we help is the function. We provide more function to banks. So in addition to online lending, in addition to risk control, we also run an internet securities company in Hong Kong, and we see when the traditional securities business slowing down because people no longer go to their retail shops. We see booming on the online internet security trading, because when people sitting home, there's only 2 things people love to do. One is that you play online game. The other is trading stock. It's actually an online casino, like online casino. So we see customer increasing it very rapidly. And then there are many banks. They say, okay, so we want to do this business as well. We want to turn our bank's business, turn our bank's customer into wealth management. It's not only lending, not only deposit, but also we want them to trade stock. We want them to use a system. but it's hard for them to build a team and to say, okay, I want to set this system. And more importantly, you also need to work with the regulators on eKYC. How do you make sure the eKYC procedure is very solid? Then we say, okay, we come to provide solutions. So we help them to design the whole system. We work with them. They can trace through our system, and they will split commission with them. So I think there's a third thing will provide more function to traditional financial institutions. And I think in the future, my view about this landscape will be like this. Big financial institutions, like big banks, I think they definitely need to have their own capability. This is what we see in China as well. Although, you know, all these big banks and big four banks, ICBC, Bank of China, they also work with other fintech company like Ants, other company, but they have been able to build a big system, big team internally because they can afford the cost. And then for the fintech company, I think for many of the small and mid-sized banks, we see that first, it's very costly for them to build a team, especially a technology team. And second, it takes time. You know, when you hire a CIO, you build a team, and then you also tell your board, like I say, well, we need to spend money online. We need to spend money on this system. It takes time, and also there's experience, and there's cost to pay, and the most expensive cost is time, right? So I think that, you know, in China or in Southeast Asia or somewhere in the world, I think that these smaller financial institutions, they are more and more working with the financial technology companies. So this is going to become a trend. And also, I think we also not only working with the financial institutions, we also see that many industries, they need to have fintech solutions. Now we're not working with someone in Thailand to help one of traditional retail company to go online using blockchain technology. So this has become a trend as well, because when you're a customer, you want to monetize your customer. You want to capitalize mostly on your customer. So when people come to your shop, before they only buy, you know, merchants, right? Now you say, okay, I can give you a loan so that you can buy more merchants. And that's why we see that a lot of, you know, we can see a lot of very successful e-commerce platform in Southeast Asia. This Shopee, this Tokopedia, all these companies, they are being competing with each other. So they're putting money on the e-commerce side. So they need to monetize as soon as possible. So that's why they start to eagerly to try to work with the financial technology company and say, okay, you come to our platform, we work together. You know, we work with banks, we work with a fintech company, so that you can profit loan on our customer base, and then we can make more money from the customers. So I think this is has become a trend that is more and more cooperation instead of competition in this sector. Because at the first screen, everyone talking about fintech company to try to disrupt, disrupt the financial institution, to disrupt the financial industry. I think more and more is cooperation than before. And also, I think the other key reason is that the compliance, right? Compliance is very key, right? We spend a lot of time and cost on compliance as well, and also the bank as well. So both sides, by working together, you know, with technology and the compliance experience, bank is apparently more, they have more experience dealing with the regulators. So that is making it easier to have better products with better experience. So I do see that, you know, the trend will be will go more and more further, and I would do expect that in the future maybe we're not talking about fintech of financial institution. I think maybe it's the technology company with a financial solution, and also financial institutions with technology capability. So that I probably describe, you know, all these players like maybe in 5 years or 10 years, we don't need to talk about like internet, because internet is everywhere. So maybe we talk about AI, we need to do like blockchain. So I think there's more and more cooperation. Also, each other going to the each other the field. You know, fintech company trying to get more license. The financial institution try to get more fintech solutions. So I think that's conclude my my comment on this topic.
Thank you very much, Sam. That was very, very informative. So let me now bring it all together, because now I'll actually open up this discussion and have a discussion with all of the three speakers. I think there were a lot important points and topics that were covered today, right? I mean, I heard the topic of data being critical in this entire journey. I heard the topic of talent and leadership, which was obviously something that we're going to touch on in a little bit more detail. Openness, which is also very, very critical. And I think the one thing that I do want to spend some time on today is also around how this ecosystem of financial services and fintech and the regulators, how they can actually collaborate and work closely and to promote further innovation in the industry. So let me start, right? Maybe with you, Abhishek, right? I think we talked a lot about disruption in the financial services industry. And, you know, we also talked about the COVID pandemic really accelerating the space of digital transformation. And all businesses, right, across all industries in the last 3 months, they've had to think about innovation. They've had to rethink aspects, you know, in terms of physical outlets, ways of interaction, including sales and services. They've obviously, you know, leveraged digital and technology as much as they can. In Accenture, I think we believe the key word is reinvent, right? All businesses have had to think about reinvention. So maybe, Abhishek, right, just understanding and maybe leveraging, you talked about the enablers for creating a digital insurer. And what I understand is one of the key things that FWD is doing is actually creating fresh customer experiences, right? With a customer-led approach. Now, maybe you can share a little bit of what FWD has done differently compared to the traditional insurers to sort of help enable your online business.
Yeah, thanks, Bhavna. Actually, this is something I think Madam Nurhaida touched upon in her opening remarks, and also Rick alluded to when he talked about customer experience. So I think we're all sort of in violent agreement about the need to get this sorted out. And I see a lot of companies get lost, or they lose their way and get caught up in the whole trap of using technology for technology's sake, right? So the problem statement is not clear, but they want to have, I think Rick was talking about a data lake. So every company wants to have a data warehouse or a data lake, but what they will use the data for is not very clear. And I think those companies typically lose their way because the problem statement hasn't been defined well. But coming back to your specific question on CX, and again, this will exemplify the point I was making. I think when we launched the online insurance in Singapore, both on non-life and life, in Singapore, 4 years back now or slightly more. And we did customer research, and 70% of the customers said they want to buy their next car or travel policy online. And yet, when we looked at the market share, less than 5% of the industry or the market was transacting those categories online. So huge stated demand by the customer, and it's not translating into market share. So what gives, right? Are the customers lying, or is there something in the way of that demand translating into market share? So we looked at, and I won't take names because this is not about dissing a particular company, but the leading online companies at that time, let's say to get a car insurance quote, you had to answer 27 and 29 questions respectively, just to get a quote, right? So a lot of the companies make a mistake of taking their offline processes and just converting that to a PDF form and putting it online and say, oh, we've gone digital. But the customer expectation is being set by their experiences on Amazon or eBay or wherever else, right? So that is really poor experience. I mean, to take a sort of an analogy, if you walked into any physical store, let's say a shoe store, and asked the attendant, how much do these pair of shoes cost? And the attendant went, answer these 27 questions for me, and I will tell you the price of the shoes. That would be a very poor experience. And yet that's exactly what's happening in the online insurance journey. And I think the reasons were twofold. One, they were not looking at risk pricing particularly well, right? So all sorts of questions by the traditional underwriting department were being thrown in there because why not ask the customer everything, right? And secondly, and companies get greedy about customer data. So a lot of detail upfront about the customer's email address and phone number and physical contact, which increases the pain threshold for the customer, right? So if the customer finds it easier just to call up an agent and say, why don't you fill up the form for me and I'll sign it, versus doing self-serve online, they will choose the former option. So we cut the number of questions down to 10, for example, right? So anything and only questions that was required to price that risk. And so 30 seconds, you can get a quote, 1.5 to 2 minutes, you can get a policy. And travel insurance for us has taken off like a rocket in Singapore. So we already, I think FWD has around 7 or 8% of the market, of the overall market, not just online. And in a small market like Singapore, 5.5 million people, I think we're writing around 20, 30,000 policies a month only on travel. So I think just, and car insurance is supplementary to that. So travel, we brought the number of questions down to 4 or 5, literally one sentence, right? And then the CX mindset needs to be reflected not just at the point of sale, but also when customers get in touch with you to actually make a change in their policy, or frankly, when they have to make a claim. And so just to, again, exemplify this on travel insurance, most of the companies brought their sales journey to actually a reasonably friendly experience. It's easier to do. But the claims experience was still very lousy. So you can buy a policy online, but God forbid if you have to file a claim because you lose your luggage, it goes back to the paper process, right? So you'll have to fill a form in and then mail it into the company. And we said, actually, if your sort of flight is delayed, you can just take a photograph of your boarding pass and WhatsApp it to us. Because we've got all your details anyway. Why ask you to fill another form? And as long as you give us the boarding pass, we'll be able to actually just process that offline. And actually, one can take that one step further, which is actually on APIs basis, you can pull all the flight details and data, which flights are delayed, and without even the customer intimating you, you can now credit the customer's bank account with a claim amount, right? So couldn't agree more, Bhavna. I think if companies really get obsessive about customer experience and tech becomes an enabler, that becomes a sustainable advantage. Else, it's very easy to lose your head in, I would say, the gimmicky PRE stuff, which gives you headlines, but actually nothing more than that in terms of business outcomes. And therefore, those things become unsustainable in the long term, right? Because they eat money, but they don't deliver results for you.
Absolutely. I mean, sounds to me like you've obviously incorporated a large amount of design thinking in actually developing some of these new customer journeys, right? And I guess I'm curious, has there been any changes for you in this post-COVID world? I mean, in terms of your business model, and have you seen any sort of balancing required in terms of your post-COVID business model vis-a-vis, what you've been doing, sort of getting people online anyway?
Yeah, so I think I'll talk about this a little more broad. Two things happened. One, I think, and let's call it the digitized core, right? The core operations of an insurance company. And Rick talked about how there's so much, let's say, legacy and tradition seeped into the systems that insurers use versus a cloud native company. I think for us, for example, I'll give you, so our telephony system was an on-premises sort of implementation with Avaya. And we were, for the longest time, considering a cloud-based solution. And prior to COVID, there was a proper project timeline. It would have taken 6 to 12 months to do the migration, et cetera, et cetera. And lo and behold, there comes a crisis. And within a month, you have to get this sorted out, because if your contact center staff have to work from home without jeopardizing the interest of the customer, how do you enable that? So you know what? We could migrate to a cloud-based solution within a month, right, on telephony. Done. So in some sense, this crisis has accelerated the migration to, I would say, more cloud-based solutions, which companies traditionally would have questioned, would have dragged their feet and taken a year and a half or two. So what usually would happen in 2 years has happened in 2 months' time. And I'm talking the core systems and sort of the digitized core. In terms of the online behavior, whether sales have really ramped up, so we see 70 to 100% growth in life insurance sales online. So protection products, let's say cancer insurance. Travel insurance has disappeared because no one's traveling anymore. So that obviously, that product line will take a hit for all insurance companies, right? But what hasn't happened is, and I think this is again across all the other Asian markets is it's not as if, let's say your groceries, you could go to a supermarket physically, but because you can't, because you're in lockdown, you now have to order the same online, right? So that's a staple, that's a necessity. People are just changing the delivery mechanism from offline to online. But in insurance, if you're looking at buying a savings or an investment product, chances are in a lot of regulatory environments, those products cannot be offered fully online, right? So the customers might be interested, but they still can't transact fully online, just like they could do for groceries, because either the regulatory environment is not there, or the product journey is not suited to complete online sales so far. So what we've seen is simple products, protection-oriented, let's say cancer insurance, simplified term, that takes off and grows very rapidly. But the more complicated products, which still require a wet signature, for example, in a lot of jurisdictions, you can't transact those online fully. So, but I think this crisis would have accelerated even the regulatory questioning of some of the prior stances that the regulators have had to say, can we change this? And can we change it for the better for customer convenience going forward? And I see that. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, we'll touch on the regulatory elements slightly later. Let's quickly move over to Rick, right? I think, Rick, you touched a lot about, some of the strategies that you're seeing within the market. And what's very interesting to me is that leaders like Google has really shown the world what I would term as platform-based business models, what platform-based business models can really achieve. And it's interesting because we're now seeing this platform banking being sort of replicated within financial services, right? And you sort of see all of this come to life. And while the concept of a platform isn't new, digitalization is now enabling and allowing scaling and assessing of the data, to be far easier and far simpler. I guess my question for you is, what can banks and financial institutions learn from Google, right, in terms of creating a platform-based model, right, in terms of leveraging open APIs, cloud data, etc., right? That's my first piece. And my second question is, with this launch, right, how can you further enable organizations to support them on their transformation journeys?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that. I would say, the first part of your question, it really comes down to, I wouldn't necessarily encourage companies to say, hey, how do you become like Google, right? Because, Google is unique in the way that we operate. With that said, though, one of the things that you see, especially within Google Cloud, is that we've been able to democratize many of the capabilities that Google has used from a technology perspective for more than 20 years, and we make them readily available for all of our customers. And so, when I started at Google 4 years ago, we had one cloud region in Asia Pacific, and that's, as you can imagine, extremely hard to service organizations and end customers with only one cloud region, let alone help them be able to meet their regulatory or compliance requirements. And so if you fast forward to today with the launch of our Indonesia cloud region in Jakarta, we now have 9 cloud regions in Asia Pacific. We've got 2 more on the way. And what that is enabling is it's enabling customers to not only have resources at their fingertips, whether that's compute or storage or database requirements, but also, as I mentioned, some of the more innovative, maybe considered higher value offerings that are now available in countries such as analytics capabilities or machine learning. But I would just build on what Abhishek said before. None of it matters if an end customer doesn't understand what the value proposition is that they're trying to provide for their end customers. And so making sure that people have a very clear value statement and a value proposition, and what are the business outcomes that they're trying to drive. Technology just for technology's sake isn't going to get to the positive outcome that these organizations are looking for. And the reality is although we've democratized all of our capabilities from a technology perspective for companies to take advantage of, the reality is, and especially in traditional enterprises or industries like financial services, they're going to have a long-term legacy. And so it's critical to be able to leverage what we would call a hybrid environment or even a multi-cloud environment and have those capabilities. So getting back to the point I made earlier, really partnering with the right companies, and that would include companies like your company, Bhavna, Accenture, helping them with that, and what their digital transformation strategy looks like, but also working with technology companies that are enable that openness, as you mentioned before. It's not just open APIs, but also making sure that when you're thinking about training up your team, you don't really want to train your team on 3 or 4 different platforms. If you have the ability to train once on a technology, but that technology is able to be run across platforms, whether that's Google, whether that's on-premise or at other cloud providers, that provides that flexibility that ultimately organizations need to have. And so that's something that's core to Google Cloud, is we want to be able to create openness as well. Now, we will always be happy to go through our differentiators and why we think our technology would be the best suited, but we also are realists and know that we want to provide choice to organizations. So that's a key aspect as well. So that's what I would say for the first part of your question. Do you mind repeating the second part? I'm sorry.
Well, I think you kind of covered it. I want to move on to maybe. Well, I think you kind of covered it. I want to move on to maybe my next one, right? You touched on innovation, and I want to understand your viewpoint on security, right? Because a lot of what you guys are doing is now going to be sort of the big question on security, and how is it secure for all of these organizations to put all of the data in the cloud? Maybe you can touch a little bit on that.
Yeah, sure. So to start with, security at Google Cloud is our #1 priority. I mean, without having security and operational excellence, we won't have a viable business, right? And security requires trust as well. So there's a couple of key aspects when we think about security. First and foremost, all data across Google Cloud is encrypted and transited in REST. The other thing that's a big differentiator is we are the only cloud provider that has built and operates our own undersea cables. And what that leads for people is that they do not traverse over the public internet when they leverage Google Cloud. They remain on our network. So that provides better privacy, better security, better operational excellence, and as well as that data is encrypted in transit and REST. All other cloud providers, they work with ISPs, but across the public internet. So that's a big differentiator for us. The third, as I mentioned before, is the investment we're making with having a local cloud region in Indonesia. And that provides choice. Before, customers would leverage other regions across the world. They still have the choice. If they don't have to keep the data in a country, they have the choice to choose where they would like to. And that's why we have 24 cloud regions across the globe. But if they have a requirement from a regulatory or compliance reason to have the data has to remain in Indonesia, well, now we have that ability with the cloud region that launched today. So they will be able to store that data that they have in Indonesia. And so that's a big differentiator as well. And the other thing is, and I would say the final differentiator is from the ground up of the data centers all the way to the chipsets that we create, security is embedded in across that. And when you think about the amount of security parameters that we set up, we've implemented an automated system leveraging AI and ML for Google Cloud to be able to proactively notify customers if they may be under what we think is a suspected DDoS attack or phishing attempt or whatever it would be. So we're notifying customers about what may be happening. And we also provide them with tools that allow them to audit who's accessed their data, who's trying to access it. And the thing that's important to note is, as a cloud provider, we do not have access to customers' data. It's their data. They control their security keys at all times. It does not go across Google Cloud, and no one at Google Cloud has access to that. And that's a big differentiator vis-a-vis what you would have to do yourself. As a company at the size of Google, we have the ability to hire more people that have security specialization than an individual organization in Indonesia or anywhere else would have the ability to do so. So we think of it as it's a partnership where we will work with organizations to make sure that we uplift their security stature and to make it as secure as possible.
Perfect. So you answered my question in terms of how you will enable other organizations as well. Great.
Hey,
let's move on to.
Bhavna, could I just supplement that with 30 seconds of my view on that? I think the security piece, and this would be possibly interesting for our stakeholders from OJK as well. I think just from a policy perspective, my sense would be that, let's say the smaller insurance companies with not very sophisticated tech departments, do we want them? Are they more susceptible to hacking and DDoS and all the other attacks? Or actually, if stuff was to move in a more institutionalized manner to the cloud, whether it's Amazon or Microsoft or Google, where those three companies would have more sophisticated tools to ward off external threats? I mean, if I had to bet, I would put my money on the cloud operators because they know what's going on and they're with it, versus a small insurance company trying to battle stuff on its own in an on-prem kind of an implementation, right? So just from a policy perspective, I think one needs to think of that. I think the question from a insurance client perspective, which I have found my tech team talking about 5 years hence, is the sort of portability and compatibility between platforms. So if you choose an AWS today, and if you choose a Microsoft Azure, are you wedded to it for the rest of your life? Or actually, if you wanted to take your data out and move from one cloud to the other, how easy is that?
Abhishek, I can't wait to be able to meet you in person. So that's exactly what I was talking about. I promised OJK that I would not talk too much about our platform, but for the audience, and I promise you, I did not ask Abhishek to mention that. Google Cloud actually has created a service called Anthos, A-N-T-H-O-S. You can read about it online. But it allows exactly for what Abhishek was just asking about. It allows for interoperability and portability, which is ultimately what all companies are asking for. It doesn't matter if you're a small, medium enterprise up to the largest organizations. They're saying we want that flexibility and interoperability. So Anthos allows you to, it's a software-based system. It allows you to write once, run anywhere. And that means on-premise, Google Cloud, AWS, and later this year it will support Azure. So it really will provide that interoperability that people have talked about, but now that really brings it into real world applicability. And that's something in XL Axiata right now. I know it's not a financial services organization, but XL Axiata is leveraging Anthos right now today.
Excellent, excellent. Maybe Sam, let's hear your perspective on this, right? As a sort of a fintech player, and you're obviously very progressive in terms of innovation and digital transformation. What's your perspective on this, Sam?
Sorry, my perspective on the regulation. Yeah. I think this is a very I think important issue, and it's very we have been going through all this in China, in Hong Kong, in Indonesia, Southeast Asia. I think this the key is balance, right? Because you don't want to, from the innovation perspective, you want to maintain the capability to innovate, to have the flexibility to do things that you can move things forward more efficiently, and also more creative. On the other hand, I think it's very important that you maintain to be regulated. So to be regulated in a framework that seems not go widely, right? So then it's always a balance issue. If you look at all the financial history of the world, the US, the China, you'll be see the same pattern that if you look at the financial crisis in 2008, financial derivative they helped to speed up the housing market to grow, but at some point they grow too far, and then you have bubble, then you have financial crisis. The fintech as well, right? So you can see that in China, in somewhere you can see once there's so many companies and they go into the fintech sector, but some of them are not really fintech companies. They just use technology or they just use it online to do something. It's not as good as the other companies do, right? So it's very difficult to balance, especially I think the key for regulators is that they need to make sure they know, right? The problem about if you look at 2008, the financial crisis, or look at all this happening, is that the regulator, they don't know. So once they don't know the size of the problem, once they don't know the size of the market, once they don't know the issue, then they got more nervous. So when they got more nervous, then they intend to have more strict measures, right? So I think if you look at the experience in China now, you know, like people like us, people like other fintech companies, they need to provide data to the central bank, to the regulators, to their other things, right? So now, and then the regulator sort of say, okay, now I know how big is the online lending market, you know, what are these guys doing, right? How many players in the market, right? What they're doing. So this is very important. The first step is that the regulator needs to understand the market. The regulator needs to have a tool to know the market, right? Then you have the transparency. Then once you have the transparency, then the regulator needs to see, okay, then within this framework, can I give more room to the innovation, right? The safest way is that we don't do anything, right? So I'm running a securities company. I'm the CEO of a security company. So firstly, my job, my daily job, very important, is to balance the frontline people, and also the compliance people. My team, you know, my technology team and my market operation team, they always say, okay, I want to go to as far as possible. I want to have 10,000 customers per day. I want to blah, 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 blah. I want to make it more efficient. I want to make sure people, you know, they don't need to have once they do the KYC, they don't need to have too many steps. It's one step or two steps. And then compliance say, okay, no, we need to have this on place. So it's always a balance. How you balance to make sure that, you know, the regulation can be able to consider it of the business nature, right? You don't want a customer to go on your go onto your app and take 20 minutes to finish question before they can finish the KYC, right? But you also don't want the guy to just you know, just answer some simple questions, and then when the regulator come, when you present your eKYC document to them, the regulator say, "Oh, this is too simple. You cannot be accepted," right? So this is always regulating. I think, especially for financial institutions, especially after the financial crisis before, we can see more and more regulation compliance costs, especially on big banks. You know, I was in big banks before. I was in Credit Suisse, Barclays. You know, there's the banks spend billions of dollars every year on the compliance. And then sometimes it's more ridiculous is that you can see more and more ridiculous questions. Once upon a time, my commercial bank called me and say, okay, so Mr. Lin, why you transfer money from your account to this account? I say, because this account is my wife's account. You know, the account is also with your bank, right? So I need to transfer my money to my wife's account. So why do you need to transfer money to your wife's account? I say, oh, my wife need to go shopping, she's not working, right? So she need to get money from mine, right? And you can see that, there's a lot of issues that like this. That's why, you can see the virtual bank in Hong Kong, they now aggressively acquire customer. They hope to have a better experience. And also the MA is behind that. But the MA also want to make sure that they can have sufficient capital, they can have everything in place. So you can see this is like a two-step, right? That one, and then there's always balancing. But I think the good thing is that we see more and more regulators have consider and try to make a good balance, so that we can see things moving forward. Yeah.
Good points. Very good points. Actually, you touched on two things I do want to dwell on a little bit on. I think innovation and risk, right? And like you said, the right balance, because we obviously want sustainability of these business models. And I think if I look at the P2P industry in China, for example, right? I mean, there was a point when we had, I think, almost 2,700 or something P2P platforms. I think this was 2016, and now there's a huge contraction, right, because of the scandal. And so we're seeing obviously a lot of I would say pressure and tightening regulations on the back of it. And I think the one thing that we kind of called out in a very recent paper that we wrote in terms of the next generation central bank is how can regulators harness the power of data themselves, right, to sharpen the surveillance of risk, strengthen financial oversight, drive regulatory compliance, and boost monetary and financial policy making. Because I mean, we see the use of data, and I think as Rick also mentioned earlier, it's such an important currency how can the regulators also take advantage, right, and harness this power of data? Do you have any thoughts on that?
You mean the data side, right? Because
Yes,
I think it's if you look at the I think data is now very efficient. I think especially on this pandemic, right? This COVID-19, you can see many government, they're implementing data to checking people. I used to I joined a web banner 2 weeks ago with some public health expert. I think there's one of the key comment from them is that you need to make sure that you can track people who are affected, right? So and then you can track people who are around them. So you can see that the Beijing recently they have been able to track down very efficiently on all these people. Whenever you go around that area, then maybe you get checked, right? I think this is happening not only in China. I think in everywhere in the world as well to different extent, right? So I think the regulatory regulation on the financial sector is also the same, right? The regulator now they're building the systems that to connect to different players. Before they have a good system connecting with banks, right? So banks every day they need to submit, right? Capital and FI, etc. We have securities company in Hong Kong. We need to submit our FI every day, right? So, but more and more that some of them is by submitting banks and also, but now they are also building system to connect to fintech companies as well. So whenever you are in the sector, so like connecting this data so as well. So you need to submit data, and sometimes even it's not about submitting data. Sometimes it's also the system. They connect the system as well. So that means that your data, your system is connected to the regulators, right? I think it's a good thing. It's because transparency is very important. That can make sure the regulator is comfortable of the area. But apparently there's also a balance about how do you maintain the efficiency and how do you, and also the privacy of the customers, etc. So there's a but I think this is not only happening in the online lending and like you say P2P sector. It's happening in the especially in the stock market, right? Before it's very difficult to check down like inside trading. Now it's very easy, right? In China and US, you can use a very different people's account that from the face has no connection with you, but the big data system they can easily matching. So that's why if you have insider trading in China or somewhere else, they can check down very efficiently, very quickly. Unbelievable. You cannot believe how fast they can check. I think we are living in this data war, right? I think we have Google export here. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be the reality in the next 10 to 20 years. People apparently won't have too much privacy, but hopefully it's a more efficient and the regulator. So that is very important for the regulator to make sure the data is with people who have integrity and also people who have safety, and also we have the necessary measures to make sure the data is safe.
Good point. Very good point. Rick, maybe you
It's
want to add on.
and all the speakers. Your time is 5 minutes left.
Oh, okay. Maybe Rick, I did want to hear from you on this as well, right? I guess while the central bank's mandate obviously is to regulate, right? Like, how do you think that, or what's your suggestions in terms of how regulators should engage with non-bank players and with players like yourself in terms of policies? Because I believe Ibu Nurhaida at the start talked about some of the policies that OJK has rolled out, from 2018 on digital banking, etc. I mean, more can OJK and maybe BI do to push the envelope in this space to really promote while maintaining, making sure we still have a very sustainable financial services sector?
Yeah, so I'll make the comments brief. I would say, we have been honored to be able to work with OJECA and other regulators across the industry to understand what they're trying to accomplish and to provide, guidance on what we would think would be a good step. And I know other providers have as well. And I think ongoing dialogue is critical. One thing that, we really appreciate is that there's an absolute thirst to understand technology and how that can be applied for good from a regulatory and compliance perspective. And I think OJECA does a very good job of that. One thing that I would continue to encourage, going back to openness, I think there are so many opportunities to be able to leverage third-party data sources through open APIs, as I mentioned before, and is what the gentleman just said. Privacy is critical, but you have the ability to anonymize and then encrypt data. That's still something that the regulator would have the ability to access. But if you create, again, if you're working in a private-public consortium type of setup and you're leveraging open APIs, then you can get not only data that's coming from the central authority, but you can also get the third-party data coming in and create that open data lake that everyone has access to and provides that transparency that you're kind of alluding to. And I don't think OJECA and other regulators are really that far off from doing that. I know there was a question in the Q&A around digital ID. There's a lot of upside to that, but there's also obviously privacy concerns around that. Sitting here and living in Singapore, I can tell you when I have to go in and out of a location right now, I scan using my phone, QR code, and the government knows everything about where I'm at. But, for me, I understand that's something that you need to have, especially in a pandemic. And I think that will continue to do so post-COVID. It's how do we do it to assure levels of privacy for end users and transparency. And I think that there's plenty of tools available to enable to do that. And I think just the more that we're open and we share together, the better off we're all going to be.
Perfect. Thank you. I think the one element I did want to touch, and I was looking through some of the questions that we've gotten from the audience. I would like to hear a little bit about workforce, and we talked a lot about automation, digitization, and we really need the most nimble workforce, I would say, right? A workforce that actually can actually carry out the I would say disruption that's required. And we believe that adaptability is going to be a critical skill, right? The ability to learn continuously, which is more important than actually having the skill given how fast technology is moving, right? Abhishek, maybe what's your strategy around building this workforce of this future? Last one for you, Abhishek. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a sort of a silver bullet or a sort of a very articulate answer, Bhavna, but I think if the question is, the thought underpinning the question is whether the current employees or workforce need to feel threatened with all the changes that are going on. I would say not. And I think, again, if you read a lot of smart people, the whole, I think automation or robotics coming into the manufacturing sector happened a while back or is already accelerating. But that doesn't mean that a whole host of those people would be unemployed in the future as long as they're willing to reskill and retrain. So the kind of jobs would be different. The number of jobs don't have to be, right? So today, for example, we have a huge thirst, a huge demand for UI, UX, graphic designers, people who could code in multiple languages, right from Java to Python. And finding that skill set is difficult. So actually, the demand far outstrips supply in that area. But the demand is lower for some of the other roles that we might have had 5 or 10 years back. So you're absolutely right. I think that I don't think there will be an issue with the younger generation, the 16, 20-year-olds of today, who would actually train in the requirements of 5 years later. The key issue would be, what about people who are 40, 45, 50 years old, and they've been doing a job for the last 20, 25 years? How do they transition almost immediately over the next 12 months into the jobs that are required today? And I think that problem would be either more dire, more acute, or less so, depending on the demographics of a particular country. and sort of the social, the contract, so to say, the younger generation has with the older generation. So it's different across markets. But as I said, I think there is a huge demand for the new economy. Just the roles are different from what an insurance company would have required 10 years back.
Rick, anything you'd like to add in terms of competence?
Yeah, I would just add, I would agree with Abhishek. I would say that, Indonesia is blessed that they have a young population, and I think adaptability, I agree, is critical. I think, as I talked at the opening, it's imperative across, I believe, across not only companies but governments to continue to help invest in upskilling and reskilling, the 40 plus, and I sit in that category. I mean, I do think that is something that people can't be left behind. And there's a number of organizations, whether it's not just Google Cloud, whether you think about Coursera, you think about there's a ton of online training courses that are available, and many of them are free, and they're in the local language in Bahasa. And I think that that's something that's really important to continue to be able to promote. But I would say, just from a skill set perspective, it's agility, it's ability to deal with a lot of ambiguity and resilience. I mean, who would have thought, 4 months ago, we were going to have a global pandemic on top of everything else that's going on. And, you can see it's coming into the future. It's going to be really important. As a father of 2 young children, I think it's important to really enforce the need for resilience as well, on top of the agility and ambiguity, ability to adapt to ambiguity.
Thank you very much for that. I think I'm gonna pull out some questions that have come through from the audience, and I'll kind of read it out for this panel. So there was one specifically for you, Rick. The question goes like this: for business transformation, which field is the most important for the transformation itself to happen to ensure its effectiveness? Is it business process? Is it the model, a domain, or is it the culture, organizational aspect? Which is the most important aspect for it to be successful?
It's a great question, and whoever asked that's a phenomenal question. I don't think it's to me, it's not binary. They're all critical, and they're all, and some may be more important than others during the stage, because a transformation journey, especially of a larger organization like an FWD or any type of organization, it's going to be a multi-year journey. So, you can't be successful if the team doesn't have the skills and the talent to be able to do it. If the leadership doesn't have the vision and foresight and ultimately intestinal fortitude to move forward, that becomes a critical component. What we always encourage companies to think about is speed over efficiency in many cases. Like, get out there and try things out. I see too often with the traditional organizations, becomes almost a sense of analysis paralysis. And then they actually don't end up doing anything. And I think Abhishek nailed it when he said earlier, you talk for 2 years about doing something and moving to the cloud, and then an event happens like COVID-19, and then they're able to move in a month, right? So what does that say? Whether you see the adoption of Google Meet or Zoom or any of these other technologies, you see the amount of adoption, and people are able to do it very quickly. Instead of being pushed to do it, I think companies need to be thinking more proactively. And when the CEOs that I talk to, that's where they're in now. They're in the fact of, okay, we've gone through this, the recovery, we've got to be more proactive to be thinking about it longer term. How do we do that? And that's going to be a big difference. And I would say technology innovation, we're going to see huge advancements in the next 12 to 18 months, much, much faster than we would have seen.
Which leads me to this very interesting question, and open for all of you guys. What would you say digital business competition in 2025 is going to look like, right? For, I would say, globally as well as within Asia, so sort of sneak peek into the future. What's this going to look like for all of us? Moving at a rapid pace.
Okay, maybe I'll try that. Bhavna, did you say the digital business composition?
Competition. So digital business. Well, what's this landscape and environment going to look like in 2025?
Well, if Google decides to get into financial services, then we're all toast. I think I can tell you that. But
don't do that. I'll go. I'll say, like, I think that there's going to be more automation. I think that there's going to be more. There'll be more co-opetition. There'll be partnerships that will probably surprise people. I think there'll absolutely be more platforms that will come out. And I think that you continue to see the rise of technologies that allow for not only greater flexibility and innovation, but you're going to because especially in Asia, you're going to see more people using their devices as opposed to something else. I think you're going to see just a rapid level of innovation around those types of capabilities and I would say I would expect Asia to lead the world from a lot of this innovation. I don't think you're going to expect the Western world to really lead. I mean, from a financial services perspective, people still write checks to get things done in the US. That doesn't happen out here. Just little things like that, I think, will become even more profound in the next 5 years.
Any comments, Sam, before we wrap up?
Yeah, Ms. Fathani, the time is up.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that was a very interesting discussion. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Sam. And thank you, Abhishek, for a lovely discussion.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
Over to you.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fathani, Mr. Bhatia, Mr. Harsman, Mr. Blind, for the insightful session. For the last session, Deputy Commissioner of OJK Institute and Digital Finance, Bapak Sukarela Batunanggar, would like to deliver his keynotes and closing remarks. Bapak Sukarela, please, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning to all of us. First of all, I'd like to thank all of our distinguished speakers for very inspiring and also comprehensive discussion for our topic. I really enjoy your conversation, and hopefully all of our participants as well. I check the participant 204 still stay there, and also on our YouTube channel around 250 people. So again, terima kasih banyak kepada Bapak Ibu sekalian yang sudah menghadiri acara webinar kita pada pagi hari ini. Next slide, please. Jadi Bapak Ibu sekalian, ini bukan summary, jadi saya ingin hanya untuk memberikan semacam gambaran ringkas ya, bagaimana sebenarnya digital disruption itu dampaknya terhadap bisnis. Tadi saya kira kita sudah mengikuti bersama ya percakapan dari para pembicara kita ya. Jadi dari technology disruption yang pada intinya adanya suatu perubahan digital strategy, data analytic ya, data is currency katanya sekarang ya. Lalu kemudian bagaimana juga mempengaruhi pola hubungan antara bisnis dan juga semua level. Lalu dampaknya terhadap bisnis tentu saja yang mengakibatkan disruptive business model ya. Yang tadinya model bisnis yang tidak ada 2 tahun yang lalu sekarang sudah ada. Bahkan nanti akan muncul banyak lagi model-model bisnis baru yang kita akan surprise dengan kehadirannya. Nah, dan itu tentunya juga tadi didorong oleh perubahan perilaku konsumen ya, dan juga bagaimana pola hubungan antara konsumen ya dengan lembaga keuangan ya. Juga dengan kehadiran financial technology, big tech, lalu kolaborasi keduanya, lalu kolaborasi juga dengan lembaga jasa keuangan yang ada sekarang. Sehingga dari satu sisi itu menciptakan kompetisi, tetapi sisi lain juga ini akan membentuk suatu pola kerja baru yang istilahnya co-creation, saling bekerja sama, berkolaborasi, tidak hanya sesama players, tetapi juga antara players dengan customer. Ya. Nah, tentunya yang tidak kalah pentingnya juga dampaknya bagi human capital. Ya. Jadi bagaimana talent acquisition, ya, talent management, new talent management dalam rangka mengembangkan digital talent. Bagaimana dampaknya terhadap organisasi yang lebih matrix dan lebih slim, ya, dan juga dampaknya terhadap suatu new leadership capability, suatu new leadership model, ya. Yang pada intinya tentunya pertanyaannya, dengan with all of this disruption, ya, our business will sustain atau tidak? Sebenarnya kan itu, ya, karena saya kira dengan tantangan-tantangan itu di sisi lain juga sebenarnya ada peluang, ya, yang bisa sebenarnya meningkatkan dari sustainability. Ini yang saya nanti akan fokuskan di dalam closing ini. Next, please. Nah, Bapak Ibu sekalian, ini saya ambil 5 skenario yang kemungkinan akan terjadi, ya, terutama untuk perbankan dan juga lembaga jasa keuangan, ya. Jadi ada 5 skenario atau 5 model, ya. Yang sebelah bawah, yang below the dotted lines, ya, ada 2 kemungkinan yang terburuk tentunya, yang tentunya tidak diharapkan. Yang pertama, ya, bank atau lembaga jasa keuangan itu akan ditinggalkan oleh nasabahnya, ya. Kenapa? Karena sudah tidak relevan, ya. Karena tidak lagi bisa memberikan produk dan jasa yang sesuai dengan ekspektasi dari konsumen, sesuai dengan experience dari yang diharapkan oleh konsumen. Jadi pertama namanya disintermediated bank, ya. Jadi bank yang sudah artinya gagal, ya, sudah fail. Nah, lalu ada bank yang kedua yang mungkin juga sudah survive, ya, tetapi akan kehilangan sebagian besar customernya, yang namanya relegated bank, ya. Jadi become commoditized service provider. Jadi dia tidak lagi melayani konsumen, ya, di front office, ya, tidak lagi melayani produk tabungan, deposito dan lain sebagainya, tapi menjadi service provider saja, ya. Mungkin bangunannya atau mungkin aspek-aspek lain yang dimiliki sebagai aset. Nah, saya kira 2 hal ini yang sangat kita tidak harapkan, termasuk juga dari regulator, karena regulator juga mengharapkan suatu sistem yang sustainable, ya, yang tidak hanya resilience but also sustainable, not only individually but also systemically, ya. Nah, lalu yang ketiga, Bapak Ibu sekalian, ini sedikit lebih baik, yang namanya distributed bank, ya. Jadi artinya bank-bank ini juga akan menurun eksposurnya, ya. Akan sebagian besar nasabahnya akan lari atau pindah kepada apakah itu new bank atau better bank, ya, atau other kind of institution, ya. Lalu kemudian dia masih bisa survive, kenapa? Karena dia masih memiliki franchise value. Dia memiliki suatu mungkin keunikan di dalam bisnisnya. Katakan misalnya apakah dia agricultural bank atau dia di bidang properti, tetapi banknya juga tidak lagi bertumbuh secara sehat, ya. Jadi artinya juga at risk, ya. Nah, 2 terakhir sebenarnya ini yang menjadi nanti diharapkan ke depan yang akan sustainable. Nah, pertama tadi sudah juga dibahas mengenai adanya suatu yang namanya model platform, ya. Artinya a banking without bank, ya. Jadi bank tanpa kantor, tanpa brick and mortar istilahnya. Jadi dia adalah dengan new technology, ya. Kita kenal ada Moven, ya, ada namanya WeBank, ya. Sayang kemarin kita undang nggak bisa hadir, ya. Lalu harapannya Bapak Ibu sekalian, terutama dalam konteks Indonesia, di mana our banking sector is dominant, ya, almost 2/3 of our total asset of the banking system are dominated as well by large bank, ya. Jadi kita harapkan ini nanti akan menjadi better bank, ya. Jadi bank-bank yang berhasil melakukan tadi transformasi, not only digital transformation but the holistic transformation about the people, the strategy, the architecture, termasuk juga customer-nya. Next, please. Nah, jadi Bapak Ibu sekalian, ini saya ringkas tadi conversation ini. Tadi pertanyaan Miss Bhavana is very interesting tadi. What is your views of strategy moving forward? Nah, saya summarize menjadi 6 elements, ya. Tentunya the core elements is how we can, create a sustainable ecosystem. That's the most important. Dan juga dari sisi regulator. Jadi artinya ini nanti yang akan menjadi menjadi locus, menjadi pusat energi yang mengembangkan semua strategi lainnya. Nah, tentunya paling atas itu adalah yang paling utama menurut pandangan kami, ya. Bagaimana kita bisa, ya, terutama players atau industri bisa memelihara sustainable impacts, ya. Jadi sustainable impacts tidak hanya lagi fokus kepada just profit, tetapi how to make a sustainable services and product and also a company as well. Melalui 2 hal. Yang pertama tentunya tadi, ya, memiliki atau mengembangkan transformational leadership. Karena kita tentunya yakin bahwa transformasi yang berhasil itu akan sangat dipengaruhi atau didukung oleh suatu leadership yang juga memiliki visi, ya, memiliki ketangguhan, memiliki agility, dan juga compassion, ya, compassion dan juga tadi kepedulian, ya, awareness terhadap perubahan-perubahan yang ada, awareness terhadap perubahan customer atau tuntutan dari customer, termasuk juga stakeholders lain, ya, termasuk juga tadi pengembangan internal capacity, ya, talent, dan seterusnya dan seterusnya. Itu yang pertama. Lalu yang kedua, tentunya perlu juga diikuti dengan agile strategy and also agile culture, ya, karena dengan a new business model, new environment itu juga menuntut new organizational culture, ya, yang tentunya sudah sangat berubah dinamikanya, ya. Karena sekarang generasi milenial terutama, ya, waktu kerja sudah menuntut lebih fleksibel, ya, lebih fun, ya, lebih more providing or apa namanya, fostering creativity, innovation in the workplace, dan juga lebih work-life balance, ya. Artinya itu selain dari bisnis strategi juga dari sisi culture-nya menjadi penting. Nah, lalu yang ketiga, Bapak Ibu sekalian, tentunya produk dan jasa yang diciptakan, ya, dengan suatu business model yang baru itu diharapkan fokus juga kepada sustainable value, ya, not only just focus on the short term but also the longer term perspective, ya. Jadi saya kira kita banyak belajar dari Asian crisis 97-98, ya, global crisis, another crisis, and now we have hit by COVID-19. Itu sebenarnya menuntut suatu resiliency, ya, agility, dan juga tadi lebih sustainable. What is more sustainable? Tidak hanya lagi short term oriented atau profit oriented. Nah, maka giliran berikutnya Bapak Ibu sekalian, yang bulatan yang di bawah, pentingnya apa namanya customer orientation, ya, atau customer focus value, ya. Sehingga apa? Sehingga customer itu menjadi bagian strategi dari bank secara terintegrasi, ya. Jadi menjadi saling ada sharing, memberi saling benefit, dan juga saling menguatkan satu sama lain. Nah, tentunya hal itu perlu didukung juga dengan suatu supporting business needs through IT development. Tadi sudah banyak dibahas mengenai platform, mengenai data, ya, cloud computing, integrated open API, dan lain seterusnya, ya, dan juga tentunya harus didukung suatu dengan data yang lebih terintegrasi, ya, yang tidak lagi silo, sehingga apa? Ini juga menunjang analisis, ya, didukung dengan teknologi, sehingga menghasilkan suatu apa namanya pengenalan yang lebih baik terhadap kebutuhan dari konsumen dan juga tren ke depan, ya, sehingga bisa membuat bisnis model yang lebih baik, keputusan bisnis yang lebih efektif. Next. Nah, jadi pada intinya Bapak Ibu sekalian, saya summarize menjadi 3 aspek. Apa yang urgent dan harus dirubah secara radikal, ya, secara revolutionary, ya. Karena harus, artinya kita benar-benar harus let go the old thinking, the old business model which is no longer work, ya. Jadi pertama saya kira dari sisi management and leadership, ya. Jadi selama ini tentunya the current model itu cenderung lebih transaksional sifatnya, ya, lebih ada mengejar target-target jangka pendek, ya, orientasi kepada aspek keuangan saja, ya, tanpa tadi memperhatikan aspek society, aspek stakeholders secara lebih luas, ya, sehingga tentunya dari sisi objektifnya ini juga harus lebih holistik melihatnya, tidak hanya dari sisi profit dari konteks short term, ya, profit is important, but purpose is much more important, ya. Jadi apa yang menjadi purpose, apa yang menjadi customer value proposition yang unik dan juga yang lebih sustainable ke depan, ya. Tentunya tadi apa? Business with purpose, ya. Sekarang sudah berkembang yang namanya apa, ya? Conscious capitalism. Ya, jadi kapitalis itu juga yang murni itu sudah no longer apa, ya, sustain, ya. Sehingga tentunya juga orientasinya dirubah ataupun digeser dari tadinya fokus hanya shareholders menjadi stakeholders, ya. Jadi dari I menjadi we, ya. Saya kira ini yang menjadi suatu nilai-nilai baru yang perlu kita kembangkan bersama, ya. Tidak hanya oleh industri tapi oleh juga regulators, oleh juga stakeholders lain. Nah, next please. makanya terakhir ini, slide saya terakhir Bapak Ibu sekalian, kami di OJK Institute ya sangat giat ya berkolaborasi dengan berbagai stakeholders ya, dunia akademisi, dengan industri, dengan asosiasi, termasuk seperti Milken Institute ya, Toronto Center ya, Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance, to name a few ya, ADB Institute, World Bank ya. Kita banyak menyelenggarakan webinar dan juga capacity building. Nah, salah satunya yang ingin juga kita bangun ke depan, Bapak Ibu sekalian, bagaimana suatu new leadership model and capability yang lebih balance, yang lebih holistik, ya, yang tadi tidak hanya mengandalkan akal, tapi juga combine dengan open heart, ya, open heart dengan compassion istilahnya, dengan awareness, dengan kepedulian, lebih mau inklusif ya, lebih mau kolaboratif ya, sehingga dengan demikian ini diharapkan akan ke depan lahir new leaders ya, dengan suatu new values ya, selalu new purpose yang lebih stronger, yang lebih juga lebih sustainable ke depan. Nah, ini saya kira kami sangat welcome apabila Bapak Ibu sekalian, terutama dari sektor jasa keuangan, ini mengambil bagian penting dalam bagaimana kita menumbuh kembangkan ya tadi suatu value ataupun sikap-sikap yang nilai-nilai yang baru, tidak hanya nilai-nilai yang sifatnya universal, tetapi juga nilai-nilai yang sifatnya kearifan lokal. Ya, saya kira itu yang ingin kita bangun ke depan. Makanya di tahun ini kami juga memiliki ada 3 research, ya, ada 3 penelitian. Satu adalah mengenai leadership 4.0 untuk financial sector industry. Lalu kedua adalah strategi dan framework digital talent di Indonesia. Ini kami sedang kerjakan, nanti hasilnya kita bisa share. Dan satunya lagi adalah mengenai tadi bagaimana kita juga melakukan kajian dan pengembangan mengenai social finance ke depan. Ya, jadi tidak lagi finance per se ya, tetapi ini adalah suatu finance yang juga dikombine dengan social aspect dan to some level juga spiritual aspect, sehingga pendekatannya lebih holistik dan juga lebih sustainable ke depan. Saya kira demikian Bapak Ibu sekalian ya. Jadi mudah-mudahan seminar kita ini memberi manfaat bagi terutama bagi industri dan juga bagi OJK dengan tadi banyak masukan dari para narasumber kita, dan kami anjurkan Bapak Ibu sekalian memberikan feedback ya, review ya, termasuk masukan-masukan agar kita bisa juga men-serve ya, how we can serve you better, atau kita bisa berkolaborasi bersama-sama ke depan untuk menciptakan tadi satu ekosistem keuangan yang lebih baik terintegrasi, sehingga ke depan harapan kita sektor jasa keuangan kita lebih sustainable dan juga lebih lebih bermanfaat ke depan bagi semua masyarakat. Demikian, terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Bapak Sukarela, for the remarks. And that brings us to the end. We would like to inform that the feedback and filling form for e-certificate has been available on the chat feature. Please complete the form before this webinar is ended. Bapak dan Ibu, dapat kami informasikan bahwa feedback form dan presensi kehadiran untuk mendapatkan e-sertifikat sudah tersedia dalam kolom chat. Mohon untuk bantuannya untuk diisi dan dilengkapi terlebih dahulu sebelum webinar ini selesai. We sincerely appreciate your interest and attention today. Thank you so much. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Saya usul Mbak Dea, kita take dulu, capture picture for all, especially all of our distinguished speakers.
Okay.
Ini agar panitia bisa take picture and please give your smile and also your kind of I don't know, yeah, gesture or gimmicks.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the photo session on my command.
Very Indonesian, yeah, very Indonesian. Okay. Itu belum itu siapa Pak Yanjun ya? Pak Yanjun already leave?
Okay, everybody is here, all the speakers.
Okay.
All the participants, please. On my command, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, 3. Yeah.
One more time. 1, 2, 3. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, thank you, Ibu Bhavana. Yeah, thank you, Pak Abisek. We call it Pak, yeah, Mr. Yeah. Thank you, Pak Ian Junlin, and also Pak Amos Garcia, and all of our colleagues from Ujika Institute. Pak Widyo, Pak Hikmah, Bu Asim, Mbak Dea. Yeah, thank you very much. Very well, well delivered, yeah, session. Thank you, and see you again soon. Yeah.
Yeah, love to. Thank you so much.